SSF Guidelines and Overview. Mr. David Brown, Fisheries and Agricultural Officer in the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, will address now.
Thank you very much, distinguished delegates, Chair, colleagues. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. As we've heard, these guidelines are one of the first negotiated voluntary guidelines that are specifically to do with small-scale fisheries. So what are the main thematic areas of the guidelines? Well, we have the governance of tenure, social development, employment and decent work. We have value chain, post-harvest and trade. We have gender equality, and we have disaster risk and climate change. And these are all integrated together within the human rights-based approach. There are many principles for these guidelines, if you like, and here are a few of them here. I won't go through all of them. So as we've developed these guidelines and they have been endorsed, we're now moving forward into implementation, and this is where we all have a role. As we see here, we can work together, government, CSO, research, donors, regional organisations, private sector and NGOs. There's a great deal of work already going on. As you see, FAO now has at international level, we've developed an umbrella programme for supporting the implementation of the guidelines in small-scale fisheries. We've also integrated progress on this into the Committee on Fisheries, the COFI questionnaire now that goes to all countries. So they will now be reporting back on this. I think in July the COFI meeting is. It's just important to stress the involvement of regional partners in these discussions and planning activities. And for here in this region, we have several of these: Bay of Bengal, IGO, CFTEC, Asia Pacific Fishery Commission. And then at national level, we have some specific national actions that have been taken by some countries, as we heard. Putting these into law is a major part of the implementation. In Costa Rica, for example, there is an executive decree on small-scale fisheries. Indonesia has developed a plan of action, and we also have many local language versions of the guidelines being produced. It's a work in progress, this implementation. We're not nearly there yet. There's an awful lot more to do. So what do the implementation strategies look like? Well, we've got the international links and support here. We have regional strategic planning to assist countries in planning and implementing. And then there's action and impact at national level and local level. At policy level, we talk about mainstreaming these guidelines, mainstreaming of the SSF guidelines and principles into policies, and also providing dedicated support to specific areas of implementation. The regional workshops have been quite successful, I think, and I think we're going to hear shortly about a recent workshop here. And these have been carried out Southeast Asia, South Asia, Latin America, Near East and Eastern Africa. The modalities of the workshop are fairly straightforward. They're 3.5-day workshops, and we talk about a range of issues here, including the governance of tenure, social development, value chains, and the meetings will complete with discussion and agreement on recommendations. And we also talk about partners and resources of funding. And this is the sorts of the ones that we were carrying out in East Africa. These were the kind of the countries that were involved in these. So some of the workshop outcomes are quite similar globally and regionally. So in the African workshops, for example, you'll see these are familiar. We need the political will, the leadership, if you like, at national level, the role of CSOs, importance of women, and increased emphasis on management. And the challenges are much the same as you'll recognise here with the overexploitation of the resources and the lack of policy frameworks and legal frameworks. And just before I kind of complete this overview, I did want to mention some activities that we've been undertaking here with the Bay of Bengal LME project with the Government of India and partners. And this has been quite a successful method, so through a regional approach, working at national level. And we've provided, the project's provided support to guideline drafting and dissemination process. It's been helping to analyse gender considerations, supporting the labour dialogue, and working with enhancing capacities in fishing communities, and promoting capacity development for socio-economic monitoring. So this is quite a good example where in the region we've been able to work through a regional project to provide support to countries at national level. Thanks. So what about the SSF guidelines? Well, we have to remember that they need to remain multidisciplinary and cross-sectoral, and try to bring everybody together for implementation. They've got to build on existing knowledge and experiences and initiatives, and provide strategic engagement amongst partners. And they are a very, very useful tool, and they will be a very, very useful tool in future. For more information, we have the website here where you can go to for more information and downloading the different language versions of the document. So, thank you.